Meg and Alfred, you promised to take me to Outback Steakhouse after all of this was done. I have not out my back or my steaks. Feels weird, doesn't it? And I'll know if you watch my videos because you'll mention this to me. What's up, guys? It's Shaky. So,
We're going to hell.
it's because we're gay. No. You may have heard me mention Hellscape, which is what my producer and I have been calling this build. It took me forever. But my players went to hell and I made a battle map for it. They were fighting a devil, which was one of the players' stepmom, family issues. And I filmed the whole thing. Okay, before we start, it was my first time building something that wasn't nature-y. I usually go nature-esque. I guess, okay, the fire hydrant doesn't count, okay? The fire hydrant didn't count. Link it right here, Cam. The fire hydrant didn't count, okay? I'm talking about, like, bigger build of, like, a townscape, right? This was my first build with that. So there was a lot of trial and error, and I think I would like to put a disclaimer here. If I had more time, I could have made it a bit better and a bit more refined. Unfortunately, we were on a little bit of a time crunch as my brother was visiting from out of town and he was leaving and I wanted him to be there for the fight. So we were on a time crunch and I procrastinate. Yay! Add in cheering effects, Cam. So this was partly my fault, but I did film everything. Let's go take a look. So when I first started imagining this fight, I really wanted to make a castle set for this. I thought it would be a lot of fun to have the players be able to go through each room. Spoiler, they didn't. They just went right to the big bad. But it's fine because they can explore it later. Anyways, so when I was envisioning this, obviously I wanted it to be in hell, so I envisioned it settled into some mountains that you could look down on, and there was a big archway. I really tried to get into the mind of the devil that owned this castle while I was making it, to think about what traps that they would have in the hallways, what colors would they choose, you know, even though they're in hell, they still have an interior designer. We got to make it look nice, okay? So when I was going through, I also watched a lot of YouTube videos about the layouts of castles. I wanted it to actually look like a castle, but still be playable. So I watched a lot of YouTube videos on layouts of medieval castles and what was in there, to help me think of what rooms to put in there. Obviously, sadly, magic does not exist, so I made some of the rooms myself, like an alchemist room or a mage tower, monster brooding room, whatever. But I still wanted it to reflect actual rooms that an actual castle would have. I wanted it to reflect how also tall the castle walls were. And for my research, I went with 11 inches for the first floor, 10 inches for the second floor, 9 inches for the third floor. So it just got smaller and smaller as I went because I just wanted it to look like the mini, when they look up, they realize how huge the castle is. And it was huge. I had a lot of fun, okay? But it was huge. I know that. So I don't need that one Facebook commenter coming back at me being like, why would you do this? Because it's fun, random, okay? Because it's fun. Have you heard of a passion? So obviously the first thing that I did was sit down and make the blueprints. I just sat down on my couch and started sketching and started putting everything that was in my mind onto paper. I used every inch was an inch on the graphing paper that I used. So I went through and used that for the first, second, and third floor. I just finished the blueprints. Let's go. So I just finished the blueprints of the Hellscape Castle. So now I think that I have an understanding of what the layout's going to be. I think it's going to be easier for me to start building. So I'm gonna start. We are kind of on a time crunch, which is not good, and I have to do other things during this time, obviously. So I think this is gonna be a very stressful next couple of weeks, but I'm so excited, you guys. It's gonna look so cool. I'm so excited. Let's start building. So I went to my local craft store and started buying foam, not this foam, the green foam. I hate that foam. and I started making the floors first. I went through and started, according to my blueprints, cutting them out. I went with the first floor because I wasn't sure how I wanted to do the second and third floor, which I used a thicker foam for in the end. But I just started going through and started cutting out the room shapes so that I could kind of piece them all together. Now looking back on it, I wish I had just made a cohesive like I had done for the second and third room, but what's done is done. I wasn't about to waste the foam. So then I just laid them all together to see how they were fitting out, and they were turning out really nice. During this time, I was just brainstorming the whole time. I wanted to make the walls magnetic because I wanted to make it playable for my players. I wanted to make it optimal with the walls being tall as they were for them to be able to get in. So that was kind of my thought process with having everything cut out like that. Obviously, what I did next was raid my parents' crawl space for any tools and crafting supplies that they may have had. My dad is Bob the Builder himself and has a ton of tools. So I took his saw. I gave it back. But me and my brother the bald brother, don't worry. We went through and we started making a base. We wanted to make it so it was easier and had more support underneath, and it was easier to carry throughout the process. My cat is wreaking havoc on my desk right now, but it's fine. When I had done my Feywild build, it was a little bit hard to carry it up to my sister's apartment and everything. So we were hoping that this base would give it more support. We just were hoping that it would give us more support, which it did. We made it for those 2 pieces, but I only ended up needing the 1 piece since we had nixed that second part of it. Then I started making bricks. I made come on, Freya. She's so cute. She's still licking herself. Anyways, I made so many bricks, guys. You're not understanding how many bricks I made because it was a lot of bricks. You could watch hours of footage of me doing this. You want to know how many seasons of Dimension 20 I watched? I watched season 1, 2, and 3 of the high school season, freshman, sophomore, and junior year while I was making bricks. It was very hard. Every day I would wake up, make bricks until I went to sleep, and I would just make more bricks. And I would cut everything out with my nifty foam cutter that my other brother, not the bald brother, got me for Christmas last year. So that was nice of him. And it made it very easy, and I appreciate that. But I made so many bricks. So many bricks, in fact. My hands started to it hurt to move my hands because I think I was getting early onset carpal tunnel. I don't know if early onset is a thing for carpal tunnel, but if it was, I was getting it. That's how many bricks I was making. You would just be so bored by the hours of footage I have making bricks. So I decided that I should get some help. Hey, Alfred.
Yeah.
Can you please tell Kim and Lauren that you did indeed text me saying you missed making bricks?
So, as I will give you video proof of me saying Brooke did have the texture. I enjoy making
That's
bricks.
Meg. That's Meg.
I will say I was not bribed to make this message.
Also, that's not just straight tequila. We made his drink in a tequila bottle.
He's had that whole bottle.
No.
They've
We love Alfred. Alfred is so sweet. Alfred is the kindest person in the world. If I could write a love letter, I would write it to Alfred, okay? Because, wow, he came over so much to help me make bricks. He would just come after work. He would come on the weekends. He would take bricks home for homework and make bricks. He also did tell me that he would stop being my friend if I didn't give him a love letter in this video. So, Alfred, this is my love letter, and thank you to you making bricks. I appreciate you so much. I should say, Meg, my best friend, also did help me make bricks, okay? It was just Alfred was there more. But I feel like I'll get yelled at if I don't also acknowledge that Meg helped me make bricks. Also, my producer Cam came over occasionally once and helped me make bricks. And I also appreciate, blanket statement, I appreciate everyone that helped me make bricks, okay? Then the bricks were done, just like that. And And I had to paint said bricks, okay? Imagine all of those bricks. Now I have to cover them in paint. I decided to go with a dark gray. We're in hell, okay? I'm sorry. My next one, I'll make a vibrant. I'll make it fun, vibrant colors, la-di-da, okay? First we did the Shadowfell hydrant, now we're doing this. I'm sorry, everything is just in dark, gloomy places, okay? It's not my fault. Anyways, so I went over pretty fast with a darker gray and then a lighter gray on top of that. I did end up touching it all up at the end with a dry brush just to give it a nice texturized look. But this first one I went through, it was just pretty fast, and I just wanted to get everything with that base coat of black and then that lighter gray on top of it. There was a lot of bricks, guys. A lot. Brook makes bricks. Bricks make brook. Bricky, 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 brook makes bricks. Bricks!
Comment bricks down below if you want to see a 10-minute version of that song.
No, stop trying to get me to sing the brick
And
song.
you got 2 comments about the brick song.
It was you and my sister.
We didn't stipulate that they had to be random people.
I didn't say that it had to be two. Anyways, after I made the bricks, it was time to start doing the floors. First, I had to go through and put all of the designs, those beautiful designs that Alfred helped me with. My mom also helped me, okay? She's also gonna want a shout out. My mom also helped me make the floor design. She was very good. She's an artiste, very demure. So then I started gluing down the cutout floors I had onto the base that I had made with my brother. And then shout out again to Alfred, had gotten a huge thing of styrofoam that we just put over top all of the wood. I normally hate styrofoam, but it's free, so what are you gonna do? Once I had all of that, obviously we just needed to let it hang out there, put something heavy on top of it, and then my favorite part, the river of blood and skulls and death. So I started just going ham, right? I just took a box cutter and just started carving out where I wanted the river to be. And then it wasn't enough, so I just went in with my hands and just started scratching it out. My best friend already yelled at me, so nobody else yelled at me about this, but it wasn't that long and it was fine. My hands didn't get hurt. It's literally foam. Anyways, then, listen, on this fateful night, I did not have a large paintbrush. So I had to paint everything with that Mod Podge black mixture, but I only had a small paintbrush, and this really needed to get done that night. So, and all the stores were closed, so I couldn't go get a large paintbrush. So I just started going in with that tiny paintbrush, and I started going ham, okay? It was a very long time, but it got done. I went the next day and bought a large paintbrush. So everything was fine, but it took me a very long time. Also, look at my cute little friends. Look at Alfred and Meg helping me. Next came a part that was very hard for me with my shaking, and that was painting all of the floor designs. I was very ambitious and made them more complex than they needed to be, and I think they looked very cool, but I wanted them to be perfect diamond shapes, and I just couldn't get that perfect diamond shape. If I had more time, I would have used like a straight edge to make sure I didn't go past anything to get that perfect straight look, but I just didn't have that time. I tried it a little bit. It was so time consuming that I went back to freehanding it. Also with the foyer, it was just, then I decided to kill myself even more and put lines in between the diamonds as well. And those I think I did better with, but again, it was those straight edges, and everybody loved it. Like, all my players were so nice about it, and I was just being really hard on myself is what it was. Listen, the hallways, I wanted them to be checkered, and then the checkered wasn't going well, so I got upset and I just painted it all white. It was just easier that way. Again, with the straight edge thing, if I had had more time, I would have done the straight edge, but I didn't. Then my mom made these super cool snakes in here, which was going to be this hallucinatory room that if they would have gone in, they would have had to face their worst nightmares, but they didn't go in it. That's fine. The walls! This part was a bit of a trial and error for me because I'd never done anything magnetic before, and I didn't know how to do it at first. I eventually started figuring out a system in which I would just almost punch a little divot in the bottom with my glue gun and then glue, put a little magnet in there, and then I would put other magnets so it was protruding more and press down on the floor foam. And then with those divots, I would glue the other magnet in as well. So I did this for every single wall. Some walls I did keep glued down just for structural purposes, and some of the magnets fell out. So if I do this again, I think I would try and experiment with some other ways or better ways to keep the magnets in there, because that was a very big issue that I was running into. Also, you can see some of the white on the bricks there. That was when I glued some of the walls together, and I used joint compound to try and make it look more seamless. With this all being magnetic, you can really see the differences of the walls and where those gaps were, but that was just kind of something, I was unhappy with that, but that was just something that had to happen just because I was using magnets, and playability was more important to me than aesthetic. So it was just a sacrifice that was made. But some of them I used that joint compound on to make it more of that seamless look. So this part also took a while, but it was anything that wasn't making bricks was so much fun. If I wasn't making a brick, I was having a great time. So at this point, I was having a lot of fun, and it was super fun to just see it all start coming together and actually making sense. And it was like what was in my brain was actually going, it was happening. How crazy is that? And there was the issue as well when I initially cut all of the walls. I didn't account for the fact that some of the walls needed to be cut because the foam was a half an inch thick. I didn't account for that. And so I would have to cut half an inch off of some of the walls to make them fit perfectly. I learned a lot, guys, like a lot. For the River of Blood, I went in with some epoxy resin and I just poured that in there. And then I got these little Amazon skulls that I put in the river to make it look like the skulls were floating down. I did have a bit of an issue where the epoxy resin spilled off of the side, but don't worry, didn't get on my floors. I had a little shirt underneath it, not a used shirt and cloth to catch the resin, and I just decided that they were waterfalls because I didn't want to spend the time fixing it. So it ended up just being a waterfall off onto the sides. It still looked cool anyways. Who cares? Anyways, next part, let's go. Then I started 3D printing a bunch of doors and a bunch of scatter terrain for inside to make it look like a living, breathing castle. I know, listen, before you guys come at me, my 3D printer in this clip, I didn't catch it. The bearing had come off. There was a lot of things wrong with my 3D printer in this clip. I promise you, they were fixed after this. I just didn't notice it right away. But that bearing, I promise you, I pinky promise, I fixed the 3D printer. Once I had 3D printed all of my terrain, I didn't get as much done as I had wanted. There was just like some new beginner stuff with the 3D printer I was trying to figure out, which I have, through all of this time, figured out. I just needed to paint them. I went through with simple coats of brown for most of them. I was really running out of time by this time, so I didn't get as much of that scatter terrain in the castle as I wanted, but it ended up working out for playability wise. So the players they just had more room to move their minis around and everything like that. Then when I did the front balcony that is above the front door, I made these large columns to kind of support it that I glued down as well. The balcony floor here was my favorite. I know I'm really filming the walls, but I loved I got these gold flecks that I just used clear glue and just put the clear glue on it and made it look like obsidian and gold melded into each other. They were probably my favorite floors to use. Or the ballroom floors all together, because the white ballroom that you can see underneath here, I think that turned out really well as well. I think that turned out really cool. The hallways, I decided as well that you can see here better. I went with a simple design for these floors and to make it easier for them to know where 5 feet was. For this, we used a lot of just theater of the mind. I wasn't too strict on where 30 feet was as well. We also had these aids that we used on the field and rulers as well, if we were getting a little nitpicky about it. But I think Hellscape turned out really cool. Let's go take a look at the final product and see how it turned out. That build was so much fun. Like I said, I'm a little bit hard on myself and I wish there was some things I would do differently, but that was my first build of a not nature setting, of a more man-made setting, and it was a lot of fun. I learned a lot, and I'm ready to do another one. The day I got home after that session, I started thinking of another castle I could build. I just had so much fun. I can't wait for my next big build. Definitely going to be more manageable with the walls. I think I aimed a little too close to the sun, right? I was a little bit of an Icarus in that moment. What a good reference. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions about the materials I use, I'll be linking most of them down below. I might forget a few, so if I do, leave me a comment, or if you have any general questions, leave me a comment down below. I'll make sure I get to them. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Shaky out.
Maybe your balls are the problem. That's right. Your billiard balls are lacking. What you need are Aramith tournament ball sets. Now, the highest quality balls available in the world.